The Tate brothers are punks, and for reasons I will never understand, they have been embraced by a bunch of people who themselves must appreciate punks or some kind of sexual psychopathy. These are two chidrulos, absolute low-rent punks who are doing nothing but promulgating this negative, almost psychopathic, misogynistic view of the world, and they've somehow conned a lot of the so-called right, who believes in values, to believe this line of crap. They're into that same kind of that Portnoy mentality, crude, look at me, flashing money, boorish. Have you ever seen? And this is weird too, because I understand he's went to my high school, but sometimes you'll see on various shows Bert Kreischer and these people. It's like, what is this? What is this? What are we, children? It's demented. And for some reason I will never know, people are missing the point as to what these two jerk-offs have been spewing. And they don't, what's even funnier is when invariably when I talk to people, they don't know anything about what they've done. They think this is about Romania. But then again, as you know, most people who spew and yell and scream on the internet know nothing. There's some poor guy, every now and then he comes up and he says, don't talk about Ayn Rand. This guy doesn't know shit about Ayn Rand. But yet people get upset. They have these things. Same with Candace Owens. She's another one. She's got serious problems. But people become so involved, not in what people are saying, but in the person. These are fan clubs. So tonight I'm going to give you my version of why you should reject every single thing regarding the Tate brothers. They're entitled to due process or whatever. I'm not even going to talk about that. But if you let your son, an impressionable young man, listen to these two assholes, and I'm being kind, cloacas, varicose, hemorrhoidal cloacas, you're out of your mind. We can do better than that, especially when people pretend to believe in this notion, this countenance of, values and God and the flag, and yet they'll embrace these two pompous ass zeros, absolute zeros. And if only you knew what they were doing, we'll talk about that. So anyway, get ready, my friends. We're going to have a fun night ahead of ours. Make sure that you are subscribed to Lionel Nation, because sometimes people are, for reasons I don't know, unsubscribe. But in the meantime, pay attention to this important and critical message. Listen to me. Are you drowning in debt? You're not alone. New reports show the average person is buried under $8,674 in credit card debt, with total consumer debt soaring to a staggering $104,215, including mortgages, auto loans, student loans, and credit cards. It's a financial crisis, and without a real solution, many will keep spiraling deeper. That's why I want to introduce you to a powerful secret weapon that has helped so many regain control. They specialize in consolidating all your debts into one manageable monthly payment, and even negotiate a settlement so that you can pay less than you actually owe. Think about this. They've already settled over $275 million in debt. Think about that. Helping people break free in an average of just 28 months. I've personally recommended their services to friends and clients who needed a way out, and now I'm bringing it straight to you, my loyal Lionel Nation family. So don't wait. Book a free consultation today, right now, at NoDebtWithLionel.com. That's NoDebtWithLionel.com. The link is right under the title here. It's time to take back control of your finances. Act now. Get out of debt and start living the life you deserve. All right, my friends, let's talk about this, and let's talk about the values that we believe in and what we consider to be important, that I thought we consider to be important. Now let's talk about these two absolute wastes of flesh, the Tate brothers, who are the biggest cons, absolutely the biggest cons. And I don't know where this comes from or how people have somehow found them as being an antidote or as supporters of male strength or something along those lines. I mean, it's absolutely, it's patently and totally and completely absurd without even putting it into context in any event. So the Tate brothers they're returning to Romania, which is fine. This is the alleged the rebranding. They're trying to rebrand exploitation as influence. They're influencers. They don't advocate the subjugation in women. Yes, they do. No, they don't. They just, no, they don't. Self-proclaimed influencers, Andy and Tristan Tate. I know it's Tristan. It sounds like an antihistamine. The Tate brothers, the brothers Tate. Once of them were reality TV personalities, and now notorious figureheads of an online masculinity cult. I mean, it's laughable. And they returned to Romania once again under the scrutiny of legal authorities, and that's good. That's good. And their arrival this weekend was really heralded by a lot of people, and it comes amid ongoing charges of, well, I can't say that R word, but the R word, and human trafficking and participation in what am I trying to say? Organized crime groups. Now, there was not a disposition, or a disposal of the case itself. Nothing they did was actually dispositive. It was more of a procedural thing. So people say, well, that was dismissed. Well, not really. Now, while these incredibly stupid brothers continue to proclaim their innocence, which of course they are entitled to, and by the way, nothing that they would ever say would ever make me want them to not be able to speak. I think anybody should be able to say anything. But if you don't see right away that these aren't two inane jerk-offs, I don't know what to tell you. But the gravity, the enormity, the scale of the allegations, as well as what especially Andrew, who's got the biggest mouth, what they've admitted to, it's like they're idiots. This is what are you doing? What referring to women as hoes and how you lure people with hoes and trick them? What is going on here? This is power. This is empowerment. This paints a pretty far more troubling portrait than these guys are realizing. I got news for you. It might not have been a good idea for them to head back. But listen, he's entitled, and whatever he does with his thing, I'm not familiar with the facts. I'm not talking about the Romanian case. I'm talking about what he and his idiot brother have said for years. Now, the return marks yet another sordid chapter in a saga, my friends, that has become as much a part of their public persona as about the law. Andrew Tate's carefully crafted image. Oh yes, brash with his money and the cigars. By the way, poor guys, they smoke the wrong ring gauge, and it looks somewhat kind of phallic in a weird way. You might want to go for a Panatella. They look like children, little boys pretending. Look at us. And I'm thinking, you're kidding. And these folks, again, I keep saying this, the conservatives who believe in family and church, and they like this. They look at this brash, confident, and defiant. This is ridiculous, but it's always on full display. He told a group of reporters, quote, "Innocent men don't run." It's a very good point. Very good point. And I'm sure he will address his Romanian charges, whatever they are. But for critics and legal analysts, the theatrics really do little to erase a pattern of disturbing behavior and statements that go far beyond, the boundaries of, what's legal and, the kind of gray zones, and into the realm of social degradation. And most people who are fans have no idea what I'm talking about. They've never researched this because, as you know, 99% of the people who opine on social media don't know what they're talking about. Nothing. I was watching, this fellow talking about, I forget his name, JFK. I'm thinking, he doesn't even understand that. Well, Israel did it. I'm thinking, where did you get this from? Well, but that's, listen, and remember, the more stupid the comment, the bigger the fan base. Oh yeah, you're not gonna do well being John Mearsheimer, but if you're a complete chidrulo, then you'll get 1 million plus. So anyway, so let's talk about how they do this. Glamorizing exploitation. That's what they're about, huh? You like that, don't you? You like that. You have any daughters? You have any daughters? And what if they? Well, I wouldn't let my daughters near them. But you like the Tates, don't you? Don't you? Don't you like the way they treat women? Don't you like the way they think of women? Hoes and luring them in. The Tates built their empire, supposedly, on a mix of hyper capitalist hustle culture. It's this beautiful thing. I don't know where they get this from. I swear to God, it's this. They're part of this, and to an extent. And to an extent. And God bless these people. You know who does this? The Patrick Bet David. Got a plane. Here's my plane. Okay. Here's my plane. Got my plane. I saw your plane. And what about Elon? Elon, the richest man in the world. He's doing cutlery sculptures. The richest man in the world actually was bragging about, and I don't know if this is true, how he sleeps on the floor. Can you imagine Patrick Bet David saying, I sleep on the floor? No. Can you imagine these two chidrulos talk? No. They want the glitz, the glam, but they're not really. It's not about the accomplishment. It's just. What do the kids call it? They used to call it the bling. But this hyper capitalist hustle culture, and this unapologetic misogyny, and it sounds corny when you say it, but it's really on display. And their public content. This is the best one. And it glamorizes control over women. Control them, lure them, fool them. Come to Romania. I control you, you hoes. Your hoes. I'm Andrew Tate. Bow before me, kneel, supplicate. Hoes, hoes, all of you. Here's my brother Trisket. Come on, let's go and let's drink from the cognac and our large phallic cigars as a hose. Yes, we men, yes. What tripe. The commodification of relationships. Oh, my God. And don't be well, whatever. He does protest a little too much. Have they ever had a relationship? No, I don't want a relationship. I want to own them. Don't you want a wife? No, I want to be, whatever it is I am. And the boasts of wealth and accumulated through online sex work and webcams. And I'm going to hose. I'll show you how to do it. And here's my class. And you can look at these gugutsas who are going to be teaching you my patented method. Oh, Andrew Tate, openly bragging about how he has, well, I don't want to use the word coerced, but finagled women into webcam work through what? Manipulation, I guess? A practice that, if proven in court, well, kind of aligns with the, dare I say, the internationality and the kind of the usual, the recognized definitions of, well, the T word. Be very careful. Be very careful. All these people have to, and he's entitled to his days in court, but I'm not even talking about that. He's a jerk. And what's sad is these little boys out there who don't have men, don't have fathers, don't have anybody, they actually look at this. And while the brothers deny all criminal allegations, which of course they have the right to do, including charges relating to that T word of, well, youngins and the R word, they've said, no, okay, fine. They continue to post and speak in ways that, glorify, in a really weird way, the very lifestyle that's under investigation. Isn't that stupid? You think somebody would say, listen, I can't go back in the past, but kind of tone it down. And this brand, and by the way, good for Governor Ron DeSantis, who says, I'm not going to, no, we're going to investigate you. And I will never understand. So help me God. I don't know where Susie Wiles is. Who in the Republican Party said, hey, those are the guys I want. Come on. You're with us. What are you, crazy? Especially at the White House. Okay. Be careful. Now, this branding, as you know, has not only misled legions of young men, poor young men, wanting so hard to be cool, to be tough, to dominate people who don't really have any basis or bearings, into believing that somehow domination, yeah, that's synonymous with masculinity. Yeah, talk about women like that. That's good. You're a man now. You want to be like these two, right? Kickboxers with their cognac snifters and treat women like shit. Isn't that great? Don't you love it? That's masculinity, isn't it? Right, ladies? Right? Isn't that great? Oh, we so admire them, don't we? It's also laid bare the dangerous potential of influence in the social media era. Now, I don't know what to do about that. That's one of the pitfalls. And their messages have been really something. And some people have claimed tangible consequences. Now, I don't know about this. This is going to be tough because schools across multiple, countries have reported upticks in misogynistic, and I'm using that word really, like hating women, not just dominating, but hating them, treating them like garbage, like they're nothing, they're slaves or ownership. It's the weirdest thing. But in this speech behavior among teenage boys, directly tied to Tate content, you happy about that? You think that's good? Are you proud of that? Mental health experts, whatever the hell that is, and a lot of educators are increasingly warning parents of the Tates' psychological influence on impressionable young men who don't have fathers, who don't know what being a man is. And let me tell you something. The legal whirlwinds and the stunts. The current Romanian investigation is not the first time that they've faced jeopardy. I believe British authorities have also reopened some civil proceedings, and that's fine, on past allegations, including words I cannot use by virtue of this particular algorithm, but stuff that goes back to 2012. And they're entitled to their day in court. A UK extradition request, I think, was granted, but will only be acted upon after the Romanian thing. Okay, fine, whatever. Again, I'm not interested in that. I'm talking about what they've said. And in the face of mounting evidence, Andrew has apparently attempted to control, this is really funny, control the narrative through these bombastic, over-the-top social media posts and these impromptu press conferences. Oh, yeah. His lawyers must be thinking, oh, God, shut up, not now. His latest jab, that's right, complaining. He complained about having to spend $185,000 on a private jet just to sign a piece of paper. Oh, my God. See, always that, look at me. That's what I had to do. $185,000, took a private jet to do that, yeah? And the message he hopes to send is clear. He's not hiding, which is great. But the critics see something else is going on. A calculated publicity stunt, maybe, kind of, sort of, from a man whose very livelihood depends on constant, visibility, which is great. And despite their repeated, both he and Tristan or Tavistan or whatever his name is, the brother, despite their repeated claims of, persecution and conspiracy, which is fine, and politicized, right? Romanian authorities are continuing to pursue multiple cases. Again, I don't know why. I don't know what the standards are. I'm not even sure what their charges are, including a second investigation into, I can't say it, but this time there's that minor word, influencing witnesses, money laundering, all this. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. And prosecutors have described what they've said was a kind of a complex, kind of a web, and this is really where psychological manipulation, isolation, exploiting, especially taking women. This is what they did with Diddy. This is what they do, alleged. This is what they alleged to do with Diddy and Jay-Z and all these people, to take these girls, to take these people, to take anybody who is anybody who is dependent upon, both boys who need something to connect with and also girls. And let me tell you something. You wonder, I love this. And I'm not, believe me, I'm not into the Gloria Steinem realm and all that. But let me tell you something. They treat women like complete and total crap in the world. Okay? All over the world. And this does nothing but exacerbate the problem. You know it, and I know it. And you can sit and you can say, oh, but he's just a good. Then you're just being recalcitrant. You're not listening. You can say, look, I know he's a dirtbag, but I like the dirtbag. Fine, say it. But don't justify it. Don't say, no, this is a good, it's a healthy thought. Women lured into servitude through the lover boy method? Come on. I can't believe how people believe this stuff. It blows my mind. So the Bucharest, I think, court ruled something about procedural errors that delayed the trial, not dispositive of the case, not vindicating, not dismissing the case, but the case remains open. So we'll see this. Now, here's the best part. Platforms, profiteers, even as formal criminal charges are hanging there. And again, let me say this again. They're entitled to their day in court and all this kind of stuff. But they remain visible because if you think these two are going to be able to tone it down, especially Andrew, you're out of your mind. Absolutely. There's nobody going to say, not now. Let this go away. I can't stop now. This is what I do. His whole thing is bullshit. So he can't stop. But this is going to just do nothing but make you a bigger target. I don't care. It's who I am. And after a while, people believe this level of invincibility. You know, if you look at clips of their interviews, go back and look at them. Their speeches, the monologues, the social media stuff, especially TikTok, Instagram. Oh, my God. And stuff that's posted by others. It's incredible. I mean, this ideology is like, this, how is anybody? It's one thing to sit there and say, hey, I'm kind of a drunk and I'm a debauched, slob, and okay, fine. But this, treating women like this, I don't understand it. I don't have, what possibly is the motivation behind this? Now, let me explain something to you, and this is the most important. I don't think you should be banned. I don't think anything like that. I'm not saying that. But you got to ask yourself a question. If you have young men, young boys, and they listen to that, what do you tell them? What do you tell them? Seriously. Anybody care about that? Anybody want to think? What do you tell young men? What do you tell them about the way they should treat women? Does this make any sense? Anybody? I don't think so. I don't think people like it. Because for some reason, if we're the right is very quick when people are standing up and somebody's claiming to be a left-wing, an LGBT trans or whatever it is, when women are beaten by some man who finds his way onto a volleyball team and brains her and causes brain damage. Oh my God. And this women, we got to protect women and women's rights and women's support. We love women and women's sports and women. Yeah. And then the Tates come along and say, well, that's different. Why? Well, that's different. What do you mean that's different? Well, they're just, look, he's taken out of context. Would you, is there anybody, think about this. If there is somebody that you would say, I would not let my daughter a mile from this person. What does that say about somebody? How do you explain this weird kind of, I don't know what the word is. How do you explain this weird thing? Oh, MD says lawfare is okay if I don't like you. Lawfare is okay if I don't like you. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Are you saying this is lawfare? I don't know. Like I told you, whatever he's entitled to his day, I don't know anything about it. I'm telling you what the Romanian court is. Are you suggesting that? Because the problem is I can't tell from some of the stuff that people write because it's like in 4 words or 5 words, and I'm reading into it. It's like, well, did it mean this or that? I don't know anything about it. There should be no charge for being a complete and total asshole, which is what he is. There should be no crime for that. My God, everybody would, the jails would be filled. I don't even think there should be a crime if you say, I believe women are trash and this, whatever. That's an opinion. If he said that about black people, let's say, well, he wouldn't be allowed. But if it's women, it's okay. And that's a whole nother argument there. So make sure you understand something. I don't think anybody should ever be charged with anybody just for this. But everybody, it's so funny. Everybody will go out of their way just destroying Tampon Timmy and the way he talks about masculinity, and they're all over him. And you say, well, what about this? Is this masculine? Is this what you want? And they go crazy. I don't want to talk about that. Why? That's the Tates. We can't talk about them. Well, why not? I don't know. But they're jerk-offs. Well, not really. They're just, no. Did you hear I'm not going to play what they've said. For all I know, it's against some algorithm. Have you heard this about women in the whole thing? About treating them? Seriously, is that okay? Is that okay? Honestly, I don't know. I just think people like people. And when you like people or don't like people, it's weird. I'm thinking, how can anybody, these conservatives, God-fearing, make America great again from sea to shining, and the family, and we've got to make family and girls, and we've got to support girls' sports, and and then these two people basically talk about the subjugation of women and treating them, luring them, fooling them, tricking them, owning them, controlling them. Well, that's a different story. If I were the left, I'd be all over the place. How do they do this? It's the same kind of hypocrisy of the left when they're basically they're climate freaks, but they want to burn and destroy Teslas. Doesn't make any sense. Or they forget that Elon owns like 12% of Tesla. The other 88% is pensions, and it's the same hypocrisy. They don't care about this. People don't care about the Tates. It's weird. And we're also getting into something else, which is, and I love this, and I'm telling you, remember when I tell you, I don't want this to be against the law. I don't want people to be prosecuted for this, but I'll tell you what I think. There's this other thing too about, and it's different. It's the debauched thing. I know this is important, and I know people, like there's a guy named Joey Diaz. You ever see Joe Diaz? I think he's one of the funniest people. But when he makes jokes about being a slob, doing cocaine and drugs to the point where he's, taking whatever it is, and people laugh at it. And then you have just these fat slobs, punks, laughing. Again, I don't want it to be violent. Believe me, I'm just saying. But as a social commentator, what does this tell you about that? What does this tell you? These same people are all over somebody speaking to their phone with purple hair and things in their nose, and they go nuts. These people aren't hurting anybody. They're just espousing, these are my pronouns, and they go crazy. Bring up the Tate brothers. Oh, no, that's different. Why? Well, those guys are cool. Really? You think so? Now, it was funny too. During the beginning of this, there's a piece which I absolutely love. I was going to tell you about this. And every now and then, this poor soul comes up. I don't know. He seems like a nice guy. He just comes out of nowhere. And he has this thing about, I don't know why you talk about Ayn Rand. I begin, Ayn Rand? I never say anything about Ayn Rand. What are you talking about? I love Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is the beginning and the end of his life. He loves Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is the most important thing in the world, Ayn Rand. And I was just, and I love this. And I got to tell you something, just as, because you've heard this before. For some reason, I don't know where it is. I don't know when the conservatives came along, but when you got your instruction manual, here's your code, here's your words, here's your tip words, but you've got to love Ayn Rand. For some reason, I don't know. And I've got some great quotes. I don't know why, just because she's kind of similar to the Tates. People just love her and they don't know why. Gore Vidal said, Ayn Rand's philosophy is nearly perfect in its immorality. She was this psychopath, this absolutely horrible person. Somebody said she wrote 9 novels. No, she wrote novels when she was 9 years old. No, she didn't. He just makes stuff up. John Rogers says, there are 2 novels that can change a bookish 14-year-old's life. The Lord of the Rings and Atlas Shrugged. One is a childish fantasy that often engenders a lifelong obsession with its unbelievable heroes, epic battles, and questionable good versus evil. The other, of course, involves orcs. Michael Lind writes, her objectivism is a crackpot ideology, a wild-eyed cult of selfishness. Corey Robin, political theorist, says Ayn Rand's philosophy is built on a childish fantasy that selfishness is a virtue and altruism is a vice. Jonathan Chait said, the appeal of Ayn Rand's work is the appeal of adolescent narcissism. And that's a part of what this is. The Tate thing. Children, adolescence, juvenescence, puerility, sophomoric nothing. Paul Krugman, I know he's a jerk, says, Ayn Rand is to philosophy what a cartoon is to art. Oh! And Noam Chomsky. Oh my God, you say Noam Chomsky. Her work is an embarrassment to serious philosophical thinking, yet somehow she's worshipped by people who've never studied real philosophy. Susan Jacoby says, Rand doesn't write novels. She wrote ideological manifestos disguised as fiction. Matt Taibbi, whatever his word says, she's the patron saint of sociopaths. And Chris Hedges, journalist and author, I know him very well, says, Ayn Rand's utopia is a place where compassion goes to die. And it's another example of how these people just jump on something without any understanding of what people say. Let me give you another example. If I hear one more person refer to Nazism and Tesla, if you can't explain to me what that is, I don't think you should use it. I don't think you should use a swastika. These people, these weird, strange, sexually dismembered folks running around referring to Trump being a fascist, it's the same thing. They're in the cult of personality. That's negative. They have no idea what they're talking about. Nothing. So we have to ask ourselves a couple of things here. Number one, and tomorrow we're going to talk about Elon Musk, which is the greatest story in the world. What exactly did Elon Musk do to invoke the Nazi connection? Please tell me, anybody out there. And they can't. They have no idea. They just, it's like they use the word fascist. Trump's a fascist. Trump did things for, to what am I trying to say? Trump was responsible for destroying women's rights. Never told us how. Never did. Not one time. But they say that. Okay. Then we get into other things too. We'll say these things. Going back to this Tate business. I can't believe this. Michael Franzese, the guy who is the mob's Sonny's son, who is a born again Christian, and he's the mob. He has these guys on. I will never understand it. I cannot understand it. Candace Owens, I think, whose husband was like friends with them or something, so she jumped on it. And that's another one too. Oh my God. It's like, do you listen to what she says? What about her? What is her problem with Brigitte Macron? She's a man. Okay, wait a minute. Well, what if she is? What's her problem? Why this hate? Because she's a man. Are you listening to yourself? I heard myself. Candace Owens, I love Candace Owens. I love Candace Owens. Why is she so upset over if Brigitte? Okay, fine. Maybe she is. She's talking about that. Talk about that. And Candace Owens hates imposters. Oh, interesting. She's an imposter, right? Interesting. You've got a thing for imposters, huh? Mm-hmm. Interesting. You'd hate to consider yourself an imposter, wouldn't you? Of course you would. Then we get into, remember when she went crazy over the fact that Mala wasn't black. She was black, or she was Indian, or the mother was Irish, or something. You're not black. Don't. Okay. What was that about? Again, authenticity. And then we're having this, are you watching this thing, which is interesting, about Daily Wire? Remember, nothing has to do with the issues. It's the people. Have you seen this Daily Wire thing with Ben Shapiro over here? And then you've got Candace over here, and then this one over here, and then it has nothing. It's all personality. It's wrestling. Baby face and heel. Let me tell you something. This represents a very, very, very big part of the conservative movement. I don't know if the radical lefties have that. I really don't know. The right does. Look at CPAC. Oh my God, these people have just, if you wanted to be, let me tell you something, if you wanted to be a star right now in the radical left, forget it. But if you want to be a radical left here, a star, excuse me, not what am I saying? If you want to be a star on the right, you're it. How many times do people keep going on Fox News? Why are we doing that? Stop going on Fox News, with all due respect. Why are we going? You see what's going on here? And President Trump has to come forward once and be a leader and say, okay, stop. We don't stand for this. Anybody who says this, we don't stand for this. So tone it down. I don't know where this comes from, but if I said at some place, it is incumbent upon the white people to subjugate, control, and to lure black people into servile commission, they would say, what are you talking about? Okay, I'm sorry. Did I say black? I meant women. Oh, it's okay. Makes you wonder who's really who hates women the most. Because one of the things I thought was one of the reasons why the radical left was just they hate women by bringing in all these men, desecrating what a woman is, desecrating their sports. There's no such thing as a woman. I can't define what a woman is. Remember that? We went crazy for that. Ketanji Brown, you can't even answer the question. What do you mean you don't know what a woman is? This is defilement of the woman. We have to respect women. Women's sports. Women is mother. Women this. Women's. And then the left, they said women's health. They're going back and forth about women. We talked about women all the time. And then you got two jerk-offs who want to basically lure women into some kind of whatever it is and treat them like hoes by fooling them. What is going on here? This is complete schizophrenia. I don't understand it. What are you doing? How do you not look at this? And I haven't even brought up Conor McGregor. Oh my God. Are you kidding? Does it ever get to, no? So let me just say something with all due respect. And I know that the left is crazy, but the right is just schizophrenic. Andrew says, I don't like the Tate speech ideology. It's disgusting. Now show me the crime. I hate defending people I don't agree with. I like. DeSantis picked a man. Now looks for the crime. Sound familiar? I just told you the crime is in Romania. What is the crime? What is the crime that Tampon Timmy ever did? And by the way, thank you. There's no crime there, but we despise him. We despise his ideology. What's the crime with Leah Thomas, who was this swimmer in the? There's no crime. Where's the crime? You want to do that? Half of the stuff we're talking about, there's no crime. Did you hear what I said? Do you hear? What if somebody just goes on and says terrible things about it? It's not a crime. Let me try this again. I never said there is a crime. Let me do this again. Repeat after me. I never said, nor did anybody said, there is a crime. Most of the stuff that we go batshit over, there's no crime involved. There's no physical, there's no crime. Is that, and I thank you, is this your answer? Now, I think the only time, I don't know if there's a crime or not, if any of these facts that are floating around could ever be proved. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. But that's not for me to decide. I'm not talking about it from in terms of a court case. Cut Up says, Katanji can't define woman but has daughters. Yes, that's not a crime either. But you see, Cut Up, chatter, we laud women. Women are so special to us. Define a woman. The Tates can define a woman. Somebody to be called a hoe. Somebody you can fool and give them the lover boy. Get them in, have sex with. Have you ever heard? There's so much of it out there. And again, I'm not saying it's against the law. There's no crime against this. Am I getting? Is this? These are adults I'm talking to, right? I'm just saying. Am I in the right room here? Do we not believe in certain things? Do we have morals that we kind of believe in in terms of women and girls and doing the right thing? Am I missing something? Maybe this is the wrong room. I don't know what this is. I don't understand it. I can't believe the silence. And say people are saying, well, so what? That's the taste. Did you hear what they said? It's not a crime. Where's the crime? Well, what about tampon tip? Oh, that's a different story. What? Cut Up says, women goddesses span the universe today, blah. I don't know what that means, but thank you. I don't know what that means, but thank you. So just do me a favor. Oh, and you know who, interestingly enough, you know who's got some great compilation stuff? Great. Here's a person I do not particularly care for. His ideas. Not him, I never met him before. But some of his ideas are... But Ben Shapiro has some great stuff. Oh, look, he just lets the tape run on the Tate brothers. He's got some stuff for you. Listen to it. Do you like that? Do you like that? Now, what do I want to do? I want to have men in the party or whatever this group is stand up and say, oh no, we reject this 100%. Subjugation, treating of women like chattel and cattle, fooling them, almost a form of like prostitution or self-imposed, which is the opposite, which is indeed almost a trafficking type of thing. We don't like that. Just for the record, that's not funny. That's not cool. And I, for one, am saying I don't believe in that. Now, if you do, you're entitled to that. I can't tell you what to do. But if you really don't find anything objectionable what they've said, you've really surprised me. Because I thought we were on the same page. See, I thought we were legitimate. I thought this was a real battle for what's right and wrong. And this isn't something like, we're not talking about PETA and fur, and I'm talking about girls, boys living in a world where they're hearing this, and you're saying, hey, that's great. They're at the White House. They're up at that. They're talking to Tucker. They're talking to Bette Davis. These guys are cool. This guy's cool. Oh, yeah. So I should listen to him? Oh, absolutely. It's okay to believe what he does? Of course. He's a kickboxer. He's got money. Look, he's having a snifter of cognac in this oversized cigar. Oh, yeah. What about Diddy? Oh, that's different. Oh, he's a scumbucket. Why? Well, didn't he do the same thing? Allegedly? Well, I don't know, maybe. Well, what's the difference? Well, Diddy's black. What? I can't say it. Diddy's black. He's a rapper, and the Tate brothers aren't. They look kind of like us, and he's got a nice car, and they got money, and smoking the cigar. But what's the difference, Dad? Well, you see, this guy, so let me get this straight, Dad. When Andrew Tate refers to women as hoes and how you can lure them and maybe get them, whatever, is that okay? Can I aspire to that? Would you be proud of that too? Patrick Bet-David? Would you be proud of that if your son did that? Would you? Just fill me in. Yes, I would. Really? Oh, yes. And if you can have a webcam, oh, absolutely. They had it coming to them because women are trash. Right, Dad? Isn't that what they said? Isn't that it? Okay. Because that's what being a man is. Isn't it, Dad? Huh? Isn't that being a man? Is that what you're trying to tell me? I am shocked. And then people will say, well, where's the crime? And then again, I hit my head on the wall. It's like nobody, sometimes you got to realize it's just not. But I am not ever going to compromise my beliefs because a bunch of people think this Chidrulo and his brother are somehow cool. Not in the least. Absolutely not in the least. Andrew Hessing says, I gotcha, but don't you think it was just an act of work? PBD is a work for sure. That's where I saw Tate. You think this a work? So you're saying he's a liar? Patrick Bet-David would say, oh no, I believe that. Oh no, he wants to be serious. He wants to be. Patrick Bet-David really, 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 he's got a lot of it very successful. He's got the foreign thing. Sometimes I don't know if he gets, I think he does. I don't know if he really gets a lot of the nuances of everything he says. But he was dead serious about that. Oh, for you to call him out? Come on, Pat. Say it was a joke. Say it was a work. You didn't really believe that, did you? Well, why would you do that? Why would you say something? Who are you appealing to? Who? Let me tell you what morality is. It's very simple. It's very simple. This is the easiest thing in the world. All you have, I don't expect you to actually do something, but I'm going to tell the world and tell men and women, if you have a son, you sit down with your son and say, I want you to hear this. This son is an asshole, all right? A jerk off, both of these brothers. Do you hear what they said about women? We don't agree with this. I want you to hear this. Do you have any questions about this? Do you think this is your mother, your sister, your whatever? Is this the way it is? I wonder if these guys have ever had like a wife. Have you ever been on a date? Do you know how to open a door? We've already been through this. I'm not going to go through this again. This is horrible. Is this funny? Seriously? Would any of these guys, any that have him on, would they let these two folks talk to their daughter? Or maybe have their daughter near them? That's the bottom line. Would you? No. Do they really think it's funny? No. If anybody did that to you, if I said, hey, by the way, your daughter, she's going to be on my show. What? She's 18. She's going to be on my show. On your show? Yeah, she's one of my hoes. You don't mind, do you? You know what I do? She's my new hoe. Me and Trisket over here got a hold of your daughter. You don't mind that, do you? I'm exerting my male dominance over her. She's just just some chickie. I used the lover boy, conned her in. By the way, even what would you think about that? Let me ask you something. Yes or no? Would anybody, yes or no? Would you mind if your daughter ever went on OnlyFans, made a boatload of money, but became basically some butaneda on, OnlyFans? Anybody? Anybody like that? Would you like that? Would you like it? Anybody? Anybody? Would anybody, seriously, anybody? Would anybody really like to say, my daughter, I'm so proud of her. Last year, she made about $700,000. She's on OnlyFans. She strips and does things with produce, and depending upon what room. Yeah. Anybody? Anybody? Tell me you like that. Tell me because if you like the Tates, they just cut out the middleman. See, what they're doing is they're taking the Tate model and saying, screw you, I'm doing it myself. I don't need you. I'm doing it. I'm going right to the horse's mouth, so to speak. I'm cutting out the middleman. I'm doing it. Anybody? Of course not. Because what we do is we think it's funny. Now, let me just say something. They deserve their day in court, whatever that is, whatever country. But when I see them, part of my soul dies. I despise them. I absolutely, positively despise them. And what makes me, where my jaw drops, is like, look, I don't want these guys to be arrested. I don't want them to be, they should be able to say whatever they want. I just elect not to listen to them. Listen very carefully. But when I see some very respectable people invite them and give them credence, I'm thinking, are you out of your mind? Are you out of your, oh my God. But then again, that's the way it is. Freedom's a bitch. Freedom is a bitch, ladies and gentlemen. So Andrew and Cut Up, thank you, and MD. But listen, do yourself a favor. Have you talked to your sons about this? Have you ever done this? Have you ever sat there and said, I want to use this as an example? Do you think this is funny? Tell me. Do you think so? Do you think this is funny? Do you think this is a kind of a funny thing to do? Do you think women are, I'll be honest. Do you? Do you? There's this very, very, and I'll bet you 99%, because I can't say 100% because there's always that one person. Parents have never had this discussion with their men, not with girls, but boys. What do you think about that? You never had it. They don't even know anything about this. Never had this. And you wonder why things are so wrong in this country. And we always blame everybody. Oh, we blame this, and we blame TV and social media and this and that. But the real thing is to sit there and say, I got to tell you something. This is a learning. Do you think this is good? Because you're going to hear this. And if it's not for these jerk offs, there's going to be some other one too. They're going to come along. It's going to be somebody else who's going to, be a pimp and all that. Remember years ago on, was it Beretta Huggy Bear, the pimp? Remember the lovable pimp? Remember this? The lovable pimp. Do you know what a pimp does? Oh, and even in the kind of rap music, they kind of joke about pimps and all this kind of jazz. Do you know what that is? And I'm thinking, pimps. Do you think that, there's this thing in this country, a movement, Mrs. L is a big part of it. It's called the Equality Act. And what it does is it seeks to decriminalize prostitution from the viewpoint of the prostitute, nobody else. And a while back, there was this thing called sex workers. Mayor Adams, that moron, didn't they have a sex workers office, right? Or liaison or something because they wanted to make, I'm not kidding you, they wanted to make New York ultimately to be no age limitation whatsoever, and to make it the sex trafficking, sex tourism capital of the world. I'm not kidding you. They had this all lined up, and they were doing it little by little by little by, listen to me, desensitizing you to the commercialization and the commodification of sex. And they did it. It was legitimate. And it's had its effects. Throw into the mix these two idiots and about women and all this stuff. And little by little, you start to get people to understand, like, it's just another job. And the first thing that happens is, I promise you, the first time that I find out that you are applying your wares and you're a sex worker and you've decided now to, just like OnlyFans, but who knows, I might be able to find, but once organized crime gets into that, and organized crime doesn't mean mafia, but that's part of it, I promise you, you're going to work for me. No, because they're going to say, if you think you're going to be plying your wares in my territory, you're out of your mind. Hey, but it's legal. Excuse me, it's what? It's legal. I don't care if it's legal or not. You're not going to do this. You work for me. Or you don't do it at all. But now that you do this, you're going to work for me. Now, this is something that nobody, because this lovable pimp talk, they never think about this. These people are brutal. And they are completely willing to show other women, this is what happens to you if you violate this, because the rules have not changed. And what do you do to go out and do it? Then you have a pimp to protect you. And it's the complete cycle. Everything we did before is happening right now. And who feeds this? These two jerk-offs, the Tates. They love this. They're actually, again, commodifying. It's a multi-vectored thing. Some people are saying, let me tell you something. One movement I've change I made, drastic change, because I didn't understand this. I don't really change a lot of my opinions except this one. Years ago, I was a complete one of these libertarian jerks. Libertarians are just, it's like ground zero for political ideology. Everybody should have the ability to, okay, all right. But it means nothing to be a libertarian. And if somebody wants to sell her body, who am I to define? And people should be able to have sex, And remember Dennis Hoff, remember the Bunny Ranch? Isn't that nice? They treat the girls so nice. Everything's so nice. And I thought that prostitution was just this great thing. You can go into it and you're right, because I'm a libertarian. Right? Didn't you say this too? They should have the ability to do this. I'm a libertarian. Doesn't work like that. No girl ever wakes up and says one day, or grows up thinking, I'm going to be a prostitute. Talk to these stories. It is brutality. I'm going to leave you with this. You can say whatever you want. And I realize I'm just pissing in the wind, but maybe somewhere in the ether, somebody says, hey, he's right. The most, and this is tough, but the number one most abused, subjugated, marginalized people are women. Children are different. It's a different class of it because the victimization of children is a different story. But ladies, from the time you are a kid, you were told you are not as good as a boy. You got that? They're stronger than you. They're faster than you. They're in all the, look around you. Look around you. Look. Any idea what's going on? Oh, you've made some progress, but deep down inside. And within each group, there are these weird social mores that you're supposed to be a wife, or you're supposed to put out, or you're supposed to whatever. You are nothing. And what's even the biggest sexism, or even within groups of people who themselves claim that they've suffered incredible prejudice over the years. You can go to Muslim, Arab countries, black, inner city, ask them, what are your feelings about women's rights? What? So remember this. It is this huge problem. And there are some people out there, the Nancy Pelosi's, they don't talk about it. The closest thing they ever came is gender, but not gender for women. They called it gender. They didn't say women's rights. Even to say you're a feminist today is a pejorative. And what is it going to do? What's propelling this and promoting this and promulgating this? People like the thing, but also this attitude that we have. Okay? Now you can either believe that, understand it, or not. So how do you fix it? How do you change it? The first thing you do is when somebody stands up and openly talks about basically a form of almost like a social form of chattel slavery, where women are this, you abuse them, you stop right there. But there's no Ms. Magazine, there's no Ellie Schmiel, there's no Gloria Steinem, there's nobody. There's no Betty Friedan and nothing. They put all of their energies in gender, but not women. Gender. And they don't even care about women being destroyed for their own sports. So that's that. Let me tell you something. I know what I'm saying is right. I absolutely 100%. This is another one of my favorite topics. Years ago, when I was advocating gun rights, people thought I was crazy. Crazy. Now it's nothing, but there was a time when say, open carry? What are you, nuts? Lock and load? Believe me, the legalization of drugs, I still believe in it. Still, to decriminalize, because that's not the way to handle the problem. But people went crazy, went nuts. And this is the one we're happening to. We are seeing right now this rise, this very loud rise of this boorish, churlish women who were kind of like socially comatose, but men who deep down inside hate women, hate them. Oh, they may not hate their mother or their wife or their daughter, but they look at women and they consider them to be tramps, sluts. This attitude. And it's promulgated, it's promoted, it's accepted, and it's cool. Why? Because of those two jerk-offs. That's why. Believe me when I tell you that. I know what I'm saying. So, my friends, you have a great and a glorious day. Thank you so very much. Don't forget to follow Mrs. L. Don't forget to follow the Lionel. I have on Lionel Legal, I have a Tate thing coming up. Because somewhere in the world, there's some man or father or somebody who says, he's right. These people are idiots. That's okay. I'm very patient. You have a great and glorious day, my friends. Thanks so much for watching. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.